Hello and welcome to this special episode of Cinema Savvy Trailer Talk. I almost said news then because that's the only one to do the intro to. It's myself, George, joined by Chris. Hello.
Hey, how's it going? First rule of order, if my voice sounds a little weak today, I've gone down with a cold. I mentioned that in the reaction I did, but yeah, I'm going to give it my best shot.
Yeah, so first, I don't know what this is. This is a kind of news show. We don't do it much because it's for special occasions like today, Trailer Talk, where we discuss and kind of break down a trailer for a film that's coming out. So we started with Last Jedi because it's the biggest film of the year. And we are arguably now talking about potentially one of the biggest films ever made in history. So much so that this could be bigger than Lord of the Rings. Like I was 5 years old, but in terms of people expecting, in my lifetime, the three biggest films that I've heard of events were Dark Knight Rises, Episode 7, and Return of the King. I think most people say they were the three films that had the most build-up that many people have seen. This could potentially destroy all of them.
It's the fact that it's the 19th movie as well. We have to remember that. The 19th movie in the MCU, which is absolutely... I mean, I can't think of another situation like that. I mean, I know if you're doing like cinematic universes, like you had the Universal Monster series way back when, but in terms of like modern day, to have just a team of people to say in 2008, right, we're going to make this movie Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, and then one day we're going to get to this. And it's finally there 10 years later after the fact. It's remarkable.
It's insane that it's not only is it 10 when the Avengers came out 5 years ago. Let's give you a background first. It was, oh my god, how are they going to get, was it 5 or 6 superheroes together? How are they going to get 6 superheroes to work together? Cut to 5 years later, it's at least 16 heroes to put together now.
Well, you had Civil War as well, which I mean, in all honesty, that did feel like an Avengers movie in itself, didn't it? But now you're adding like the Guardians of the Galaxy into it. You're adding Spider-Man, Doctor Strange. You've got even more people in there. I mean, I've always been kind of worried about that. Like, how are they going to split the screen time between everyone so everyone gets their chance to shine and everything like that? But I thought the same for Civil War, and the Russo brothers pulled it off, so I'm sure they can do it with this one as well.
Yeah, I am very excited, and I think some thoughts before we talk about this is that Infinity War is something I've looked forward to for a very long time. It's just bizarre that people it's coming out. I know that we can say for a lot of films that get released, but I can remember seeing that credit scene of Avengers, and I'm not going to lie, I was like, who's this guy? Who's the purple guy? And I was like, wait, is that Avengers 2? And it was, no. He's going to be in the third Avengers film, and that then became third and fourth Avengers film. And then in between that, like you said, 19 films total now to this. Yeah. Into perspective, there's been 23 James Bond films in 55 years. There's been 19 Marvel Cinematic Universe films in 10 next year. But let's get talking about the trailer. So I believe it came out good morning and they dropped their trailers on. They did it for Rogue One last year. They're doing it for this. They always do it. Easy marketing for them. Everyone tunes in. And it came up a lot earlier than I thought, but we have a teaser. And last time when we did this, we went through the entire trailer, which I don't want to do, but I guess we can kind of just go with...
You're breaking up a bit on my end. I don't know if it's still okay on the stream.
Let me know if it is, but I was just talking about Tony Stark's face in the opening shot.
Okay.
I'm joking. We're not going to go like fully shot, but we basically open up with a montage of kind of a couple of people in peril. I guess that's the best way of saying it.
And you get different voiceovers. Yeah, for different voiceovers from most of the characters. I think it kicks off with Samuel Jackson, doesn't it? And then it goes to Tony Stark. It goes to Paul Bettany. It sets the tone immediately of what you're going to get into this one, because we talked about this with Ragnarok, and I know that you liked Ragnarok. Me and Tate weren't so keen on it, but that was just jokes for the sake of it and felt very safe. What I like with the Russo brothers is that they established that more, I don't want to say darker tone because that's a term that's just thrown out all the time, but it feels like more's at stake with their movies, whether it be Winter Soldier or Civil War, and now we're at Infinity War.
It was definitely the right choice to, I mean, after Age of Ultron, I think the first one was such a big hit. Joss Whedon, the second one, I mean, that was our first ever episode ever on this channel. Yeah, it was. Right. I was on a very high note, which looking back is actually probably going to make me laugh if I ever revisited that. Because I'm not the biggest fan of Age of Ultron. I think There was some really good stuff. There was some very questionable stuff, and I haven't seen Joss Whedon's latest film, Chris, which says everything you need to know.
He's a popular guy at the moment with both comic book communities, it seems. Yeah, yeah, it's what it is, isn't it? He's pissed off the Marvel fan base. He's pissed off DC. Where's he going to go to next? Dark Horse Comics, is that the next one? I don't even know. Oh, do we still have you, George?
Mine's, I think, is working fine.
Okay, there we go. You're back now.
One thing I will say is that, you know, Age of Ultron was a missed hit, and changing from Whedon to the Russos is the right step for this film. I mean, I liked some of Age of Ultron, but when you had Ultron cracking jokes every 2 minutes,
yeah,
that for me was one of the biggest sort of, oh no, like Ultron, like I've read a couple of his comic book arcs and they really mishandled him. Like, yes, he's a Tony Stark creation. It doesn't mean he's the living DNA of Tony Stark in terms of making jokes during fights. And that was one of my biggest issues with that film, in honesty.
Yeah.
And with this, you had the Winter Soldier come out, which to this day I would still say is in the top 5 comic films of all time. That was a game changer for not just the MCU, but comics and comic book films. And then the Russos come back with Civil War, which I absolutely adore. I think that's also as good as Winter Soldier. Very different films, but down with that. And they think, okay, so they've gone from handling one guy, they've gone to handling a team like Civil War, and how they're going to get the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe on their plate. And it's going well based off this trailer. I will say that. So, like I said, the darker tone is welcome. But what I like with this, from the opening stuff, we get introduced to the first set of montages, like not montages, but who's meeting who, because we get Hulk waking up with Doctor Strange and that other guy from Doctor Strange, played by Benedict Wong.
Yeah, BD Wong, isn't it? Yeah.
And I don't know, like it reminds me of a Lego game in the nicest possible way. Like, you know, when you randomly have a character for a Lego level, like back in the old days, and you get like 8 other random characters. That's what this film like trailer feels like, and that's in a really good way. I mean that as well, that this film is going to be so insane that they've been able to mix and match anything and everything on this film, and that's what essentially this trailer is doing. It's kind of introducing everybody, I think, what their story arc is going to be.
Yeah, and it looks like they're doing it in a smart way as well. I'm guessing they're gonna split the overall superheroes into a group of 3. So you're gonna have Guardians of the Galaxy hanging out in space, dealing with stuff there. You're gonna have bulk of the cast in Wakanda by the looks of it in the trailer. You know, with like Hulk, Black Widow, Black Panther, War Machine, all that are going to be there. And then it looks like you've got Tony Stark and Spider-Man holding fort in like the city during that attack. There's going to be more characters involved in it as well, maybe the Vision as well. But it looks like although we've got all these characters, they're not all in it together. They are split up into their individual story arcs, which I think is probably the best way to handle it.
Yeah, I mean, we've even got human version of Vision, which is, I mean, he's wearing the Soul Gem, and spoiler alert for 1 minute later, that's getting ripped off his head.
We all knew it was coming.
Yeah, I mean, I don't normally, if you said, oh yeah, they're going to show like Vision basically dying in Australia, you'd be like, what? No, that's spoilers. But with this, we've known this is coming since day 1 of his creation, so it's show us a little tease of it. I don't mind that, but it just builds up everything. But like what you said, with everyone merging, I mean, we've got a shot of Mark Ruffalo as Hulk. He's in Wakanda with Black Widow. No idea if they're going to keep that storyline together. Thor kind of made a joke about their relationship. That's what you can say, I guess, about that.
There's a few knowing glances with them in the trailer, so I think they did it in Ragnarok, so I'm assuming they are going to continue that. They're kind of bound to it now, I think, with what Joss Whedon did with their characters in Age of Ultron.
Yeah, it's just very bizarre what Josh... Yeah, I think the less we talk about him, maybe the better. He's doing Batgirl, though.
Apparently he's not now, though, is he? You told me...
There was rumours he wasn't after last week, and then it emerged that no, he still is writing it and directing it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they get rid. But then again, Danny Elfman might come out and start moaning that the Batman themes have been used on Batgirl for the last 40 years, even though there was a theme before him, which they've forgotten about the Amazing 60s show. Going back to this, though, it's so hard not to make digs at Danny Elfman this at the minute.
You haven't even seen the film?
No, I haven't seen it. I've heard enough I need to hear about it, though. Like I said, everyone's merging. One of my favorite things is New York. We're getting Tony Stark with Doctor Strange, Dr. Bruce Banner, and Iron Man. Also, the two Sherlocks. The better Sherlock is Tony Stark.
Season 3 and season 4 of Sherlock, I'm going to agree with you there, but I don't know.
And the
I
Christmas
like Benedict
special.
Cumberbatch. Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I don't know. I like Cumberbatch, but he is kind of one of those actors now where he needs to stop being a thing. It seems like he's sort of always that go-to guy, usually for a villain. But I
at least he's a hero in this. He's playing himself with an American accent, but what it is, like I said, these guys are in New York. They're in his little house. I always forget what that's called from Doctor Strange. I'm gonna have a massive catch up next year. Then we cut to B-Tech Tobey Maguire, who notices he finally gets his spider sense. His hairs prick up on his hand. It's a cool shot, and then we look away, and there's a giant donut in the air.
This is one thing that I brought up in my reaction that I'm worried about with this film. There's sort of two things, but they might be interconnected. So first off, I talked about the whole spider sense thing where, like, if that thing just teleports, like comes into the atmosphere and it happens at that moment, that's fair enough. If that thing's been there for like 5 or 10 minutes and his spider sense just starts working, that's bullshit. But what I'm really hoping this movie isn't is like another world-ending machine in the sky that's going to, like, it looks like it's going to rotate round. It's going to be like some kind of mechanism. And if it starts like dragging up the city again, like I've seen that in so many movies now, I don't want something like that. Or it might be a portal where those alien things come into, which I think it will be. But going off that point, it's like another faceless alien army. They actually kind of look like the things from, you remember that film from earlier this year, The Great Wall?
No, but didn't they do the Terracotta Army?
What's that?
Oh, yes. No, that was the Mummy. That was the Mummy 3,
yeah,
wasn't it?
No, The Great Wall had Matt Damon and Pedro Pascal facing down against these giant alien green alligator things, and they look exactly the same as this. But we've had that in Avengers 1 with the Chitauri. We had it in Avengers 2 with the hordes of like robot army of Ultron. And now we've got it again. I get why you do it. And I mean, I've never read the comic books, so I don't know if Thanos does bring an army like this with him to Earth. And I don't know how closely the movie is going to be tied to that comic book. And I get why they do it for films like this, because you've got to give all your characters someone to fight. You can't just have Thanos on his own, because that wouldn't be interesting visually. But in terms of these comic book movies, I mean, it's not just the Avengers movies. I've pretty much seen this in loads of other ones, like whether it be DC or anything. It always seems like there's something similar like that. And well, I just hope it doesn't go that way.
Even Star Wars, Stormtroopers, droids, yes. Clone Troopers, Rebels. It's all the big action franchises. But now you brought up Thanos. Is it a good time to talk about?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, he's the big talking point, isn't he?
We both saw the leaked Comic-Con trailer, so we kind of saw a potato cut version of like some of the clips we see in this. Him emerging out of the, well, I don't even know what it is. He just comes out of smoke, like that thing out of Harry Potter.
Like a giant fart cloud, isn't it? That he just kind of walks up.
Yeah, it's literally like what's his name, Ezra Miller in Harry Potter. You know, and he's that giant cloud. Yeah,
not Obscurus.
Fantastic. That's the one, Obscurus. God, you beat me, Harry Potter.
I can't believe that.
We get our first proper. I mean, yes, we met Thanos in the Avengers after credits in both films. We met him in Guardians. And this is the first time we've clearly got motion capture of Thanos. Because you can see Josh Brolin in him, and it looks a lot better than I think he did in the other films as well.
Yeah, agree. Because we were talking about this before we hit record, but I think it was a guy in costume for the post-credit scene or the mid-credit scene of Avengers, and then it was from Guardians where they started doing the CGI. But even from the leak trailer, I mean, we watched the leak trailer itself. The quality was abysmal. It was like recorded off like a mobile phone, wasn't like a cell phone. It was really grainy. But even from that, in my memory, it looks like they've improved the textures on him. Maybe that was really early days in the CGI, and they've improved it since then. Thanos is a character, though, and I said this as well, that I don't think the films have done a good enough job developing him so far or building him up. Like, comic book fans, people who know the story, they know who Thanos is. They knew, it's the kind of people that knew exactly who he was in the mid-credit scene of Avengers 1. They knew where it was all building to. But if you like strip it down to what we've seen him in the movies, he turned to the camera in Avengers, which is fair enough. That was just a tease. Then he kind of just sat on a chair for a bit in Guardians of the Galaxy. He wasn't in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which I think was a massive missed opportunity with that stuff and the cosmic stuff. And then I think it was the post-credit scene of Age of Ultron where you just see him get the gauntlet, and like that's it. And this is our big bad guy. So really the entire character of Thanos is riding on this one movie, essentially.
I think with this, it's so easy to forget it's a two-part film. because it is.
Yeah.
And Infinity Wars. Then you realize, oh no, but it's actually going to finish next year. I mean, we can guess how it's going to finish.
So you're probably going to be looking at like a 5-hour runtime complete movie if each one's 2.5 hours. Yeah.
I think the entirety of this film is going to be about bigging up Thanos. Not like Bane in Dark Knight Rises. That's a terrible example. I was trying to think of something similar to a bit like the Emperor in Episode 6. I guess that's a better one. He was, he had that one scene in Episode 5. He's been spoken about for 2 films, and here he is in Episode 6.
Yeah.
I think Thanos is going to be very similar. I would be surprised if he doesn't turn up until about halfway into this film. Because we know, some of the best Thanos stuff was Gamora and Nebula talking Guardians 2 this year. Because they had that one conversation where they were talking about what he did to them, how we've replaced him, mechanical stuff. So we've got a reputation, but it's not enough reputation to see on screen. This trailer, it does a fine job of it, but we don't see much of him compared to that trailer at Comic-Con, but that was tailored for the fans in the arena, not the general public who will see this at cinemas. We'll see this in the cinema at Star Wars in a couple of weeks. And I really hope and pray this film is going to big him up so that when them credits roll for part 1, you are literally shell-shocked, and not just probably from a couple of your characters dying. I don't think many will die in part 1. I think most of them will go in 2. That's the main thing. And we have a Josh Brolin face and his actual, voice as well. Because Josh Brolin.
I was talking about that as well. Like it sounds like they've done something to his voice, but they've kept it very minimal. And I thought that was strange because you look at Thanos and he's like this 10, 12-foot like demigod guy, and you just expect like a generic deep voice like you would for any villain. But it seems like they're going a different way with it. Kind of like I don't want to say Ultron because they did make his voice robotic, but he felt more like a sort of wisecracking guy, didn't? Yeah.
I love James Spader as Ultron. Yeah, James Spader was the best thing about that film. It's such a shame. That's what gets me angry thinking back to it, is that he should have had some better stuff.
Then I am kind of worried about Thanos. Like, if, as you say, if they can end part 1 and you go, boom, right, okay, Thanos is this force to be reckoned with, bring on part 2, I can't wait. But we have to look at like Marvel's track record of villains so far, including Ultron. Like, I think everyone will agree that that was a huge missed opportunity. But really, Loki is the only one that anyone cares about. And he's sort of reached that point out, and he even kind of was anyway, where he skirts the line between being good or bad. But this is a very different type of bad guy. This is a guy that you need to be scared of. And if they can pull that off, then that's great. But I'm just worried about that because I know what Marvel are usually like with their villains. But this is 2 movies dedicated to one villain. So maybe like it was with Loki, where we had Thor, then you had the Avengers. Maybe it will be a case like that again.
Speaking of Loki, we have a shot of him walking over, I presume, all the dead Asgardians from the end of Thor Ragnarok, with the Tesseract, which we knew he was taking because we saw the deep trailer.
I don't know if it'll be or do you mean the dead Asgardians from, spoiler, at the end of Ragnarok when they're on the ship, or do you mean?
I mean all of the Asgardians that made it to the ship.
Oh, okay, I was going to say because the planet kind of like imploded, didn't it, or something? So yeah. Good point, yeah.
In the credit scene of Ragnarok, we had Thanos' ship rise, and that was that scene. And we can presume what happens next. And we have Loki looking very scared. He's going to die in this film. I think he'll be gone in part 1. I think it will be the scene of the Tesseract.
Yeah.
If you want to make a statement of Thanos, have him brutally dispose of Loki in his first scene. This probably will be his first scene, honestly. Everything that happened with the Asgardians and stuff, because we will get to Thor later on. But Loki's going to be a goner, and it's the right time for him to go. I think Loki was big enough to go outside of a Thor film in an Avenger film. And if he goes to Thanos, like it's almost like the list. Like you look back at Kingsman 1, one of the reasons it's such big bravado, the villain, is because they killed Samuel L. Jackson. And even the same, the Winter Soldier, they killed Samuel L. Jackson. Surprised they both. No, not Samuel Jackson, but he didn't survive one. He survived the second film. The Colin Firth effect. That's it.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
You lose their sense of villainy because he came back and was fine the next film. Go back to Age of Ultron, not Age of Ultron. Yeah, Age of Ultron, he comes back and it's he's alive after all. Even Coulson in Avengers 1, the Avengers still technically don't know he's alive, which is stupid because there's been a 5-year TV show about it and they're the Avengers.
They've killed the effect of death, essentially. And I mean, even with like Loki in terms of his death, like you knew that he didn't die at the end of Thor because he got pulled into like another realm. But Thor the Dark World, they skirt the line like, oh, did Loki actually die? And again, you realize he didn't. But the question is with Loki, if he is going to die in part 1, which I never even thought about that, but you brought that up, he probably will he go out a villain? Will he go out groveling, like trying to use the Tesseract as leverage? Or will he go out a hero and finally redeem himself?
He'll probably... I can imagine him groveling and then try and do some kind of hero sacrifice and it fails spectacularly and then he does. You know that scene in Kong this year?
Yes.
When there's that guy, he's like, I'm going to sacrifice myself. I've got all the grenades. Here I go. And the dinosaur just spins its tail and smacks him into a wall like a couple of 100 yards away. Loki will get a death, not like that embarrassing, but I can imagine Thanos taking no sympathy, seeing right through him and his games. And that would be such an open statement for him.
Yeah.
And even with Loki, I guess we could talk about Thor, is that we've got him trying to save something. It looks like the ship. I don't really know. We can't tell at this point. But the main thing with Thor is that we couldn't write it in the trailer, but we see him with the Guardians.
Yeah.
That's going to be gold dust in terms of comedy. I mean, this film's not going to have much comedy, but you just know that the funny scenes are going to come from the Guardians guys and Gamora.
And I'll be interested to see how Hemsworth plays it as well, because if you go back to like Thor 1, yes, there were some funny moments, but it really started coming with like the Dark World and definitely Ragnarok, where we're seeing this more funny, light-hearted Thor, and it'll be interesting to see if they bring that dynamic to this one as well with the Guardians, or if they are going to go with a more straight-laced Thor where his planet's just been destroyed, maybe his brother dies as well. But I'm guessing with the Guardians, it's going to have to be comedic, right? Like he's going to have to play off the likes of Chris Pratt and Bradley Cooper as Rocket.
Yeah, I mean, and let's be honest, it's the Guardians. Like, there is going to be serious, and even in Guardians 1, you had your dramatic moments still, but it was still funny. Like not the dance off bit, but the bits before where they're all kind of when Rocket drinking, like go through his life story, like that's funny, but it's quite serious. I think we'll get that a lot. But with Thor, like you said, it's going to be interesting to see how Thor does it in this film. But we know his arc's now teed up with the Guardians. We knew that from San Diego trailer, which I think a lot of people are going to be looking forward to, especially with Thor being the other cosmic film from this year. But I guess now would be a good time to talk about not just... I mean, we've got one set. We've got Thor and the space guys. We have Wakanda, which has a lot more imagery in the trailer than I thought it would do at all. Black Panther's out in February, and now this looks like it could be one of the most important films before this film comes out.
Agreed. And I mean, that's one thing that I've said about the Black Panther is the one thing I'm most looking forward to about it is the world. I mean, visually, it looks great. It looks different to what we've had before with the Marvel films. And we're getting a little bit of a tease of it here. So, I mean, they've got a plan clearly, and it's smart that they're bringing out, although he's already been introduced in Civil War, it's good that we're getting his world fleshed out before we get to this, which makes sense. And it looks like they are going to be a major force in the movie. Like, they're going to be fighting alongside most of our major characters.
Whether they will die is one thing by Thanos, but I just like seeing Black Panther. I'm liking the look of the film. The second trailer wasn't that brilliant and maybe revealed too much, but we knew he was going to be in this, so... it doesn't make the first one irrelevant, but I don't know.
I think it'll just be kind of showing... we had a little bit of in Civil War, but I think it'll be more just sort of like showing you what Black Panther is, what he's capable of, and his world, essentially. Like, you just need that, so you've got the setup for this one. I mean, it'll still probably be a great movie in its own right, but...
yeah, I mean, it's got everything going right for it, but I think it's... whichever film was going to be the one before Infinity War was always going to be a bit that. Yeah. Even Ant-Man. Ant-Man was the film after Age of Ultron, and Ant-Man 2 is the film after Infinity War.
Or like the first Captain America film. Like, I'd love Captain America as my favorite character, but even that, like, you had Thor, and then I think... didn't Captain America come out months after it? It felt like, we've got to do that one to get to it. Or with the Netflix series, like, we've got to do an Iron Fist series just before we can get to Defenders. Sort of like a means to an end, really.
Yeah, and I mean, Black Panther's great, but it's just going to be, it's going to hit you out of nowhere. Like, oh, this film is out. I mean, it comes out in 2.5 months.
Mm.
Think about that. We were counting on Star Wars 2.5 months in October, and like we're counting down. Like, not everyone's forgotten. It's just unlucky. But it's clearly going to have a lot of importance to this, which I am looking forward to. It's going to be awesome seeing everyone. One thing I do wonder about, and this goes for all of them, is I wonder how much input the directors of the films have on their characters in this. Because I remember James Gunn saying that obviously James Gunn didn't write this film, but he sat down with Kevin Feige and the Russo brothers to discuss the Guardians, and that's what's going to be more interesting to see how they're going to act with other people's. Because I think another example of Age of Ultron was Josh Whedon wanted the Hulk and Black Widow romance, but the Russo brothers had hinted in Winter Soldier, which was just before, that there was maybe going to be a Captain America Black Widow romance. So what you've got now, I think, is that they're probably being a bit more careful, but I'd imagine James Gunn being very sort of involved in Guardian scenes. I wouldn't be surprised if I forgot what they call the writers, where they're not shadow writers, but they call them script doctors or something, where they're uncredited. They make a couple of minor changes. I can imagine James Gunn having that for the Guardian scenes.
Yeah,
because to me, he pitched Guardians to Marvel. It wasn't the other way around, and it's going to be weird having them without him directing. But hopefully, you don't notice it going and being slightly different.
Well, I mean, it's run by a studio, isn't it? I mean, I guess you can say the same thing with Star Wars. Like, they'll have, right, these are the key things we want in the story. You've just kind of got to create a movie around that. Like, you can still do your own story, but you've got to hit these plot points, essentially.
Bullet points.
Whether that's done by Kevin Feige, I don't know, but it's going to be done by someone who's going to oversee like the entire story from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Speaking of Wakanda, though, one of my favorite lines in there is where you got Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, saying, "Get this guy a shield." For some reason, it really reminds me of Lawrence. Yeah, John Wick 2, Lawrence Fishburne. Somebody, please get this man a shield. Like, I just thought of that. I love that.
And it's the fact that I know he's like Captain America, but Bucky is in Wakanda. Obviously, he got frozen there, and he's rocking the John Wick hairstyle and growing that John Wick beard, and he wants to play young Luke Skywalker because Sebastian Stan looks exactly like him. But I mean, it just looks like some of that Lord of the Rings when you see them all running. I don't know if that insults you, but whenever you see two giant armies going at each other, that is the main thing you can think of these days.
Yeah.
But you do get this superhero shot of Team Cap, don't you, running. Wow, no, it's not even Team Cap, is it? Because it's a mixture now. You've got Black Panther, someone from the Black Panther film, Hulk, Captain America, Bucky, Scarlet Johansson, and
you got War Machine and Falcon.
War Machine in the air and Falcon, yeah. I mean, that's not a bad little half lineup, is it, for a little fight? And the other thing I guess I did forget to say is we do get a first look at some of Thanos's. I don't really know what we call them. They're not the Fantastic Four, because there was that stupid rumor at Comic-Con they were. They're the children of Thanos, aren't they?
Oh, is this like a kind of X-Men 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse type situation?
Yeah. I think Peter Dinklage is one of them. That was what was rumored, because Peter Dinklage is in this film.
Yeah.
We get a very quick look at a couple of them. So when you have like Captain America come out the shadow, that's thrown. We get literally a millisecond on one of them. We have Black Panther fighting some kind of 4-armed one as well. That's probably another one. So I kind of forget that this film, it's not just Thanos, but there are some other villains as well, which I guess will probably be disposed of by the end of it, but we'll bring him some Infinity Stones.
Yeah. I mean, with the only Infinity Stone total that we see in this so far in the trailer is that he has 2. I'm guessing by at least the end of this one, he should have all of them, and it might end with like a kind of all hope is lost moment.
If Marvel had the biggest balls, which I don't think any film would do it, because it's a terrible idea on scripts. It works in comics. In the Infinity War comics, so I read this years ago when this film was announced. He clicked after getting all 5. He clicks his finger, and a third of the universe just like disappears and dies on the spot. That would never work in the film medium. Clicking your finger and losing a third of your cast, that would be stupid. But if it can finish, you know, like how Voldemort got the Elder Wand at the end of Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Yeah.
But if you read the book, you knew he actually hadn't had the Elder Wand. If this can finish with Thanos getting the 5th one and maybe murdering someone else, then that's the best way to tee up the next film in a year's time. That's kind of what I think will happen. That's because if it's a part 2, think of Dead Man's Chest. It ends with Jack Sparrow going off into the Kraken and them on an expedition to bring back Jack.
Yeah.
The 2 parts, I mean, episode 7 is a cliffhanger, but we just know that episode 8 is going to have something like huge to finish with. Empire Strikes Back had obviously Han and Carbonite, Luke losing his hand fighting Vader's father. There's a potential in this to really do something big, and I really hope they nail it, because I've enjoyed 2 of the 3 Marvel films from this year. I wouldn't say they're disappointing though. I've enjoyed them, but nothing really more than that. It's been Logan's been the standout of all the comic book films, but there's nothing that's really sort of grabbed me like Marvel did previously this year. And I really hope it's because they're focusing so much on next year. But if their reputation is they won't kill off characters, and this is the one chance they've got to do a load of them and really make a statement.
We know that Vision's definitely gone, and actually I'm looking at that shot where he's got the 2 in the glove. He's got, I mean, I don't know the names from the colours, but he's got the purple one and the blue one. Now we know that he's going to get a hold of that 3rd one. Was it the Soul Stone that Vision has?
Vision's got the yellow one.
It's at least 3 he's going to have by the end of this movie. Maybe he'll get them all, or maybe he'll be tracking down the final 2 in part 2.
I mean, the Collector's got the red one, hasn't he? No, the Soul Gem. The Collector's got the red one from.
I can't talk about.
Is that weird?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that thing. We're going to we know the Collector's got one. Yeah. If we need to sit down now, because we're kind of all over the place because we didn't do a schedule. There are 5 Infinity Stones. No, 6. There are 6.
6, yeah.
There's the one that Loki's obviously going to give to him. There's not Thanos' head. There's Vision's head. That's 1. Yeah, that's 2. The red one from Thor 2's 3.
Yeah.
Hasn't not Nebula. What them people called in Guardians 1? They got the purple one.
Oh, the
Power Stone.
Yeah. Didn't they say that
Nova Corps?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
They put it in some really big, important safe, which is probably going to get destroyed in the next film. So there's your 4th one. Your 5th one is Doctor Strange. He's got it around his neck.
Yeah.
And the 6th one, I think, is maybe it's Undiscovered. I don't know. I could be wrong, but we'll probably get that in the next one.
Yeah, so there's the Space Stone, which was in Thor, Captain America, and the Avengers. That's for the Tesseract. There's the Mind Stone, which is the Chitauri Scepter. There's the Ether from Thor, the Dark World. There's the purple one from Guardians of the Galaxy. There's the green one, the Time Stone from Doctor Strange. And then the Soul Stone hasn't been discovered yet. That's the one that hasn't been in any of the movies so far.
At least we can say, Thor spoiler alert, that Kate Blanchett isn't playing Mistress Death or whatever they thought she was going to be. That would have been a really stupid way to have tied them in. It would have been cool seeing Kate Blanchett as that, but
I would like to see them bring in the character of Death, though, because I mean, I don't know about the comics, but I know that is a big integral character trait of Thanos. I
never realized it was just stupid. Like, oh, she's really pretty. Like, she can't. I like her, but no, she doesn't want to be with me, so I'll kill the entire world for her.
Yeah,
it's for a film. Like I said, it can work on a comic. That's fine, but for a film, it'd be stupid. Because you have to live with films the rest of your life, whereas comics you get a recycle like every couple of years at this rate. But that's kind of quite a lot of things I've got to say. Do you have
we could talk about Spider-Man if you wanted to. I was waiting for you to get to that at some point, but yeah.
He's wearing the Iron Spider suit, teased at the end of Homecoming. That's my thoughts on Spider-Man.
I do like the look of the suit. I'm not going to lie. It does look cool, but I mean, we're just hung up with like the old Spider-Man, aren't we? And I think it'll always be that way. We both hate
it's
it.
It's not even that.
But
I just hated I mean, I really liked him in Civil War. I just really didn't like Homecoming. I really hope this film does change my opinion on it, but Homecoming was such a disappointment that you had a new Spider-Man film in the MCU, and it was 2 hours of, I need to impress Iron Man to become an Avenger, even though I signed a 10-pitch deal to be this for the next 10 years of my life. I thought it was a massive missed opportunity because I loved Vulture in it, but I just didn't like this. I mean, the best scenes were all with Michael Keaton, so.
Well, hopefully if Infinity War just kind of continues the story on from Civil War with Peter Parker, you can just kind of cherry pick Homecoming out of the MCU and just watch it as still one continuous thing.
I would love it if he's doing that stuff. Like if he has a montage of him saving people, then just Thanos punches him in the head like he just to Iron Man, just knocks him out cold.
if like for some like weird thing with the Infinity Stone just turns him back into Tobey Maguire.
Now, don't get my hopes up, but J. Jonah Jameson has not been cast yet.
This is true. Maybe we'll get that in Homecoming. Maybe that'll make Homecoming slightly more tolerable.
Homecoming 2 should debut with the Daily Bugle, a picture of Infinity War Part 2, because I think Spider-Man's the first one post Infinity War Part 2, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, Homecoming 2, yeah.
And just have turn the camera and it's just J. Jonah Jameson, like the original. And he's got, and it's all, that's the perfect to introduce him, like post-destructed New York. But anyway, no, Spider-Man, that's my thoughts.
I can't think of anything. I think we've pretty much done a clean sweep of everything, really.
Should we wrap it up? Do you have a final scene? Favorite scene from the trailer?
Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, I love a good team up shot, so I do love that one at the end. Favorite scene though, it would probably be the opening montage. In all honesty, like just that first shot of Tony Stark. I mean, that basically just says it all. And I think they hinted at that, didn't they, in Age of Ultron when he had that weird vision. But just to see that, that was probably my favorite shot.
Mine's Thor with Guardians.
Yeah,
it's that little smile that Peter Quill's got, and I'm not midway through it. I'm almost at the end of re-binging Parks and Rec for the third time in a couple of years, and Chris Pratt is an absolute national. Well, he's not English, but he would be a national treasure if he was. Yeah. I love Guardians. I can't wait to see them in this. They're going to be the thing that gets me really hyped.
I think that'll probably be the comic relief throughout the movie. If everything else is serious, they'll be the consistent comic relief, I think.
Yeah, it will be. They will be they're the final piece of the puzzle of the crossover. Is just when Rocket meets Tony Stark. That's like that Lego thing I mentioned at the start of this video. That ridiculous team up. That's going to be like Lego Marvel. That's Infinity War.
Can I hope for the Netflix crew to join Infinity War Part 2, and then that would be truly the greatest crossover?
I haven't.
Where do you draw the line? Do you do Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Do you do that awful Inhuman series they've done, or where do you draw the line?
Just keep the TV. Let them be their own thing. Apparently, Punisher's fine. Just fine. I haven't seen it yet. I was like you. I was following them all when they were first airing, and then there was just too many of them. Some I didn't want to watch, but you had to watch them to get to the ones you did want to watch, and. It's just done an Arrow where there's just so much to watch. I just can't be bothered.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about DC and Marvel. We'll get shot. But
the last thing I guess I'll say about the trailer is I love that they used Alan Silvestri's Avengers theme. It was nice to hear that again. You get like a piano, slow, moody version of it, and then it goes into the main fanfare. That theme's great, and that's probably the only bit of memorable music the MCU has. And for some reason, Danny Elfman used it like once in Avengers: Age of Ultron, which broke my heart. But hopefully, that's going to be.
Danny Elfman used a theme?
Yes, I know. Can you imagine that?
Wow!
Yeah, I love the music in it.
It was nice hearing that. That is the only Marvel theme there is, unless you think of AC/DC and Iron Man.
Yeah.
But I'm so down for this film. I can't wait to get it's going to be like a bonus for Last Jedi, just getting this trailer at the IMAX. That's going to be attached to it.
So isn't Han Solo and this will be going toe to toe, won't they, the same month?
Well, interestingly, I guess there's not been an official UK release date yet, but on the Marvel Facebook group, they mentioned April on this trailer, and we know that America gets it on May the 4th, as in this film. So if we get Infinity War a week early as well, that is dangerous, but that is also incredible from Marvel. Han Solo is the 25th, which is a missed opportunity not to release a Star Wars film May the 4th.
Yeah.
But maybe one day in the future when they're doing Rian Johnson's trilogy, we might. But about basically a month's gap between them. But I would still move Han Solo to December.
Yeah, I would too.
But overall, I thought this was an excellent trailer. It did the job. It's made me more excited for upcoming Marvel films. It got me a little bit excited again about the entire sort of comic book slate because I'm just so bored of them all. But watching
we
this,
hit that fatigue, didn't we? We hit that super. Certainly, me after Justice League hit that superhero fatigue. But,
it's been on that for a while, but getting this is that kind of joy. Like, okay, there is still one more left in me. So I have fingers crossed. This is a very good film.
Me too.
And I guess that's just wrapping up trailer talk. This was very random. Because we don't do this show, and if we don't really have a structure, so I guess all the trailers are going to come in the next few months because it's trailer season for the next year's blockbusters. So we'll come up with a strategy. But what I will say is like, comment, share, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Subscribe to us. We've got a couple of Star Wars videos coming in the forthcoming weeks for the build-up to The Last Jedi. Starting on Sunday, I think we mentioned Sunday, we'll get a final number on that. We're going to have a better social media presence from now on as well. So be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're going to try and get a couple of posts in a day. And we've got the news tomorrow where there's not, we'll probably be talking about this again very briefly at the start. I'm sure this will break all the trailer records that it, for some reason, had. As in, it is in the clown film, not this film previously. But this has been another episode of Trailer Talk, and we will be back again, probably with Jurassic Park.
Yes. Yep.
See you later.